Hi guys, it's Ray. Today I am going to open up this kit that I got for alphabet mold keychains. I have an alphabet mold that I've been using. I've been using this one, which is more of a silicone baking tray, so the letters are super deep, and I wanted something more uniform that I can actually fill completely and not have to guess my sizes. So I will probably still use that one sometimes, but I ordered this one off of Amazon, and I figured I'd open it up for you guys and take you on my test. It's a kit from Let's Resin. I will put the link to them down below, and I will put the link to this particular kit on Amazon down below. Comes in this fancy zippy bag. I'm going to pull it out. Okay. So, it comes with a handful, I'd say there's probably 10 in here, of the keychains themselves. Always good to have. I don't normally buy a kit like this. I normally just order molds and components separately. But it also comes with 4 different color packs. There's probably 20 each in here, I'm not really sure, of the little eye hooks that you need to attach to make the keychains. With these, if you pop these out when your resin is still soft, you'll be able to hand screw them in. If your resin is completely cured, you will need to drill a teeny tiny pilot hole before you insert these. So depending on like the ambient temperature of where you're working and whatnot, and how fast your resin cures, if you want to be able to hand screw them in, it's probably typically somewhere between 6 and 8 hours to pull these out. I don't know that I'll get back to these today because I work in 5 hours, so I will probably be hand drilling tomorrow to insert. And it just comes with a little thank you card, so with all of their contact information again. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I am working on top of a piece of wood that I leveled, and I have just a tray that I work on upside down with a piece of parchment over it. I did use my handy dandy little level to make sure I'm pretty good. So I'm doing it on the tray so I can just pick the tray up and move it somewhere else so I can move on to something else in this workspace. I have already mixed up, and this is brand new, so I have no idea how much each letter is going to take. But I mixed up in my silicone cups 200 milliliters total between the 2 cups of Pro Marine epoxy. I didn't leave it sitting in the cups. I broke it down into medicine cups for the most part, because sometimes when you mix the silicone cups all the way to the top, they will flash cure on you, and you will end up with this. So as soon as I mix, if I'm not going to use it immediately, I do try to break it down so I don't run into that. I'm just going to grab a pair of gloves. I'm going to grab some of my glitters, and I'm going to get started. I'm going to do some of these with alcohol ink and just clear resin, and I'm going to do some of them with glitters. You may find sometimes your glitters will float to what becomes the back side, and sometimes they'll sink to the front. It depends on the glitter, it depends on a whole number of factors. Sometimes if you let the resin start to harden a little bit, it will eliminate that. I see I have a fly in this workspace. Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to work with this backwards to me because I'm not going to use the numbers. I'm just going to use the letters. So I'm going to grab one of my cups, and I will tell you what glitters I'm using as I go, in case you're curious. I'm going to use this one called Under the Sea from Love All Bling, Castellary's Design and Bling. I do have most of these moved into small containers, but I'm just going to work from the bag so I can show you the packaging. I have these little ice cream sample scoop spoons that I use for my glitter bags when I work that way. So I'll just dip in and get a scoop. That should be plenty. And I'm just going to use popsicle sticks to stir it up. Now, these molds, the letters are a little bit closer together, I think, than my other molds, so I'm going to have to be a little bit more careful when pouring. I am going to try and fill them all the way to the top, but I'm just going to mix it in. These will still be semi-clear. I'm going to sit that one down, and I'm just going to get started. I already dripped in the one next door. Like I said, I'm going to fill these all the way to the top. Almost let them dome a little bit. But I don't want to run over too much. And I am dripping down the side of the medicine cup. That's where it got into the next one. But I do have some left in this cup. So I'm going to go ahead and start filling in that end with the same. And I do have more clear, so I can make more. I didn't measure how full I filled the medicine cups, but they're all roughly the same, so I will look at the next one just so I can get a little bit of a better idea of how much I'm using. I do like to have somewhat of an idea. I mean, I don't certainly price these individually, but it's a good idea to have some idea of the costs that go into everything. So I'm not even going to mix more for that. I'm just going to go ahead and drip a little bit in of the clear, because it's such a small amount that I need to fill that one. So that one's all set. I'm just going to wipe that off. So one little cup that was mixed to about 20 mLs plus the glitter filled 2 of these. In my other mold, sometimes 20 mLs, like on my bigger letter, like the M, will fill just that one letter. Okay, I'll grab another glitter. I'm going to go with Sea Mist by Two Birds Designs for my next one. That is Two Bird Design Shop. And I will try to get links to all of these shops that I'm using in the description. This is a much finer glitter, so this may float more to the back side. And I'll just wipe the glitter off these when I'm done. I'll just keep a pile of them for now. So I'm going to mix that in. The fines may take a little bit more glitter to get the effect you want. I'm going to go ahead and just keep working this row. Just dripping it a little bit slowly, letting it run. It's a couple more drops. I'm just going to grab a wipe and wipe the edge of that off quick. And I think I'll go ahead, there's quite a bit in here, so I'm going to do a bigger letter, like the D next. And I think I may have enough left to fill the eye. Okay. So that's pretty good with those. I'm going to go ahead and fill a couple with clear and do alcohol inks on them. I think I'm going to stick to like this corner so I don't drip any inks or anything on my already filled ones. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill them up most of the way with clear. I may stop a little bit short and then pour clear on the rest after the inks are in. And that one I filled a little too far. So that one's going to be full. I actually think the 200 I mixed would fill all of the letters and possibly some of the numbers even. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and do the C too. But if I found I've overmixed, I'll just grab a couple of my other molds and go ahead and use those. I can see where this chunky mix is sinking to the bottom, which is what's going to be the front. So that's perfectly fine. I'm not worried about that. I got a couple of inks pulled already. This one's just Glacier. I'm going to try to carefully put a couple drops. You don't want to use too much ink in a small mold. If you use too much, you may find that your mold never cures properly, or that it gets a rubbery texture on the back. So it's just the nature of the inks. I'm sorry I'm not telling you all the names of these colors, but they are all Tim Holtz so far. I'm going to do another purple. I only pulled 4 colors out, so I may go ahead and fill in one more letter. And I'm really hoping that the inks won't stain this white mold. They shouldn't, but so I'm going to go ahead and fill in the R as well. And because this resin has been sitting a little longer already, the inks may float in them differently. Some of my inks I bought like almost like a scratch and dent sale, so the bottles are kind of yucky, but the inks are fine. And I'm going to go back over the top of those. This is my refill bottle of Pinata White. So I'm going to go ahead and just drop a few drops of white on top of each. The white should push through and sink and push the color down. It may pool at the bottom and it may mix. Again, it's hard to say how it's going to react in there. So I'm just going to put it in, let it move and do its thing. Any of them that are not completely full, I'm going to go ahead and top off the top. That fly is driving me crazy. So, like the A, I didn't quite get full. And this is going to make the inks move a little bit more too when I put more on top. It's going to mix them a little. So, I'm trying to be gentle. Try not to overfill them, but it's hard to see. It's harder to see the top of these ones, for me anyways, when I'm full. Okay. So that's all I'm going to do with the inks for now, because I'd like to see how they're going to look when they're done. So if you want to hang out with me for a little bit longer, I'm going to keep doing glitters, but if you don't, you can fast forward ahead. I am going to wait to demold these. I'm going to add that to the end of this if I can. I'll come back and record that. I'm going to do some more two-bird designs Y2K. I have several of this type of glitter. I mean, this and this are very similar. I'd had a little sample bag and I was looking for a match, so I ordered pretty much all of the ones that looked like this from several companies. So this one is Silver Surfer from Glitter Craze, and this one is Y2K from Two Birds. And I think I have one or two more somewhere. I just really love the look of this glitter, so I have several. I'm in no danger of running out anytime. It's like a silver holographic. All right. My gloves now have a little bit of an inky mess on them. And some of this resin is starting to get warm. I can feel it in these cups. So I'm going to try and get moving here. I'm going to go ahead and do the Z. And I think I may have just pulled slightly too far to the edge of the tray, so that's not sitting straight. Oh, slight overfill. I'll have to trim that up or clean it up in a minute. If you go over, you can just grab a baby wipe and wipe it off. But I'm kind of hoping mostly that'll settle back into the groove. And like now I've got some of that in the tea, so I'm just going to go ahead and mix it up a little bit more and fill that tea in. The tea just might not have as much glitter, so it'll be a little bit different. Okay, I'm going to wipe that off of there. And my Z looks like it's settled itself back in, so I don't have to worry too much about that. You don't have to use all fancy glitters. Some craft glitters, craft store glitters, work just fine. Some of them will bleed. I have a ton of Nicole glitters from ACMoore before they closed, so I do use those. And that is what this one is. I think this one might be called Peacock, but this is the type of glitter that I'm not going to use for any kind of order for anything anymore, because I can't replace this exact glitter at this point. So it's all going to be used for just random molds and things. I can't have an order for, say, a tumbler with this peacock color from ACMoore and then run out halfway through. I mean, I'm sure I can find the exact color somewhere, but I don't want the hassle of that. So certain colors are pulled from my line. Now I'm going to take that one, and I'm going to take this little bit of Y2K and add them together rather than wasting it. And I'm going to go ahead and mix them together. And that should give me enough to fill maybe that F. Actually, it's honestly probably enough to fill something bigger, so I'm going to go ahead with the X. I'm just going to fill the X slowly from the center. I am not going to heat or torch these at all. Typically on a smaller piece like this, the bubbles, if there are any, will work themselves out. But you don't want to torch your silicone molds. I do sometimes, but if you don't move fast enough, you can melt the edge, and then when you go to release it, you'll actually tear the silicone. I've done it to a couple of my coaster molds, and I prefer not to do it to this brand new mold. So I'm going to grab another one from Love All Bling. This one says May Rose Dots. And this one, the bag, I poured most of into another container, so I'm just going to pour it in. That might have been a little overboard. That's why I don't generally pour. But that's okay. If I have to, I'll just add a little more resin to thin it out some. Yep. So I'm going to go ahead and add some more clear to that. I think that one's pretty well empty. It's good. There. That should be okay. This is just going to be a denser look to the glitter when it's set and it's cured. It's going to go in chunkier because it's so thick. So I'm going to get my stick, scrape that off. I'm going to let it settle for a second, and then I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit more clear in there. So I'm going to go ahead and fill a couple more with this one. And I think I'll go ahead and do the E with this one as well. Uh-oh. See what I did there? I dropped some into my D. So I'm going to have to fish that out. Not the end of the world. It's just sitting on top, so it'll be fine. Then I'll grab a wipe and clean up the tops of these in a minute. Okay, done with that one. I'm just going to grab this little stick tool I have and scoop that back off of there. No harm, no foul. Got it all. No big deal. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up the top a little bit. I mean, if it leaves a little, it's fine, but I don't want it on the edge where I'm going to have to trim off chunky glitter at the end. Okay, now I'm going to go back in with the clear and finish filling them. And like I said, this resin is starting to get hot, so I'm gonna go ahead and try and hurry up and fill these last 6 letters, and that'll be perfect. I'm just gonna go ahead and grab a couple more of these craft glitters because I can move a little quicker and get a little bit of variety in the color. I was gonna say I'd really like some pink. So I have a pale pink here. And try and get that top back in. And I'm going to go ahead and grab the coral that's up here. Just again, craft glitter, coral. One stick. 30 sticks. And this glitter, yeah. This epoxy is starting to set up some, so these fines may not float as much as some of the other fines would. I can see on this craft glitter that I used, I can see the bubbles sitting on top of the glitter on the back side, but hopefully they will pop. I didn't intend for this to get so long. I wasn't planning on doing all of them on camera. So I may edit a little bit and remove, or just fast forward through some if I can figure that out. So, to recap, I mixed a total of 200 milliliters, and I am probably, all told, what's left between any of the cups that had just a tiny bit left, I may have been 20 milliliters over. So really not bad. It's good to know I can do 2 of my mixing cups and fill an entire tray of molds. I'm trying to build up a good stock of assorted letter keychains to send to retail. And it just seems like one of those things that I don't ever sit down and do a full set like this. I typically only do if I have a bunch left over from a project, so I never seem to really get anywhere with them. And I will tell you, this cup, the last cup I'm doing, is quite warm. I think I might at some point start working a larger batch of a single color at one time and try and remember to so I have like 4 sets going and try and rotate through my colors. But I do have a little bit of that pink left, a little bit of the purple, and a little bit of the coral. So, but that really is the bulk of what I had excess. So that's not too bad. I'm pretty pleased with that. I'm now making a mess. Where'd my little stick go? Alright. I got purple in the coral too. Alright, so that is it. I will come back probably tomorrow. I don't think these will be ready before I have to go to work tonight. I will come back and unmold them tomorrow and maybe show the assembly process on 1 or 2. This got a little longer than I had intended. So like I said, I will try and edit a little bit or fast forward a little bit. But thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I so far really like this mold. We'll see tomorrow when I pop things out. Bye.